السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, you're doing well, in good health and iman, you and your families. Someone asked the question, how would you give da'wah to someone about the Great Reset? How should it be introduced to the lay Muslim? And what about a student of knowledge? Seeing pieces here and there out of context will give off impressions of conspiracy theorists. Maybe you could write something useful about this, or blueprint it. If someone was to write about the Great Reset, they would be writing for a very, very long time. Very, very long time. As for how it should be introduced to the public, well, it should be introduced to the public in the best possible way a person can introduce it, by making them aware of certain factors, certain things that are occurring and that are happening around the world. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. But there seems to be a misunderstanding amongst certain people when it comes to these topics. And it is that if a person wants to learn about these factors, know about these things, they would claim, don't get the people involved in politics. Don't get the people involved in politics. And then if you ask the same people about these certain factors, they say that we are weak, we can't speak about these things, we are weak. So in one aspect they say, don't get the people involved in politics. And then the next aspect they will say, the people are weak. So you're not involved in politics and you're weak, so what's the end of you? Will you have any authority in the land? Will you have any say in reality? Any say whatsoever? Allah understand. So that's what certain people will say, don't get involved in politics. No one's telling you to get involved in all these factors of politics. No one's told you to do that. And secondly, the way these people, certain people, speak about politics, they make it seem as if there is no politics in the religion, which is nonsense. It's pure nonsense. And I know why certain people do that. Certain people do that because the moment people start to learn a bit about politics, they start to see the reality and the truth, and they start to actually see the level of worth that these people actually hold. So some of them are already, afraid of even looking into the world. They've become so blind, they don't even know what's going on in their own lands. They don't know about the laws in their lands. They don't know about what's the stuff around them. They don't know about what's in their house. They don't know about the technologies around them. I don't know where they live in reality. I don't know where they live. And they'll try to say, oh, we're focused on the akhirah. Really? If you're focused on the akhirah, you would have truly had the eyesight to be able to see what's around you, to be able to discern the stuff that is going on around you. You neither have the discernment and understanding of what's around you, nor can you even see what's around you. And you're telling me, and you're trying to fool me into thinking that you're focused on the akhirah. Really? Focus on the akhirah, really? But then when there's laws that are going to be passed, and there's going to be initiatives that are going to be passed, and all of these things are going to surround you, surround your movement, surround your freedoms, surround you from so many different sides, and then you're going to wake up somehow. So a lot of those people are just a lost cause in reality. They keep away from you, which is good, because those people aren't needed. They're not needed around you. As for informing people, then let the people know to the best of your ability. You won't know everything, but you will know certain factors. And the certain factors should be made clear to the people. Now, the issue is that people actually don't see how deep all of this actually goes. People think the United Nations is some little innocent thing, and I keep speaking about them because they are actually very influential. If you look at, there's over 190 member states of the United Nations. That's practically the entire world. The entire world is practically under the United Nations. And I see the United Nations to be the father. If you were to look at all the countries, in reality, it's like one nation, in the sense that they have to respond back to their father. And that's the truth. Human rights. Where did human rights come from? Human rights came from the initiatives of the United Nations. It didn't come from Saudi Arabia. It didn't come from Qatar. It didn't come from Turkey. It didn't come from Somalia. It didn't come from any other countries. It started from the United Nations. So ask yourself this question. Human Rights Declaration are a set of laws set by the United Nations, and it is being spread in all these countries. There's the Saudi Human Rights Commission, there's the Qatar Human Rights, there's the UAE Human Rights, there's Somali Human Rights, there's Turkey Human Rights. What's this human rights? Where did these laws come from? They didn't come from these countries. They came from the United Nations. So you see how influential the United Nations is. It actually is very influential. It's very, very powerful in the world. And just to list some, I'll list some United Nations organizations. They have a lot. So let's list a few of them. There's UNICEF, United Nations Children's Fund. There's the World Health Organization. I'm sure you know about the World Health Organization. Remember COVID? When they kept talking about this and lockdowns, and certain countries were taking advice from who? The World Health Organization to do what? To lock down the country. So how powerful is the World Health Organization? When they advising people to lock down their countries, and then the countries are going to lock down. Don't worry, the World Health Organization, they've got future plans where it's going to be like, you don't even need to take our advice anymore. When we tell you to lock down, you're going to have to lock down. There's the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization. There's the UNDP, the United Nations Development Programme, which is one of the most influential programs of the United Nations. There's UNESCO, United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization. There's the UNHCR, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. There's the UNFPA, the United Nations Population Fund. There's the UNODC, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. There's the ILO, the International Labour Organization. There's the World Bank. There's the International Monetary Fund. There's the International Civil Aviation Organization. There's the International Maritime Organization. There's the World Meteorological Organization. There's the World Trade Organization. There's the International Telecommunication Union. There's the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. There's the United Nations Environment Programme. There's the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. There's the United Nations Peacekeeping Force. United Nations Economic Commissions for Europe. United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia. United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon. And then United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, which is UNRWA. United Nations Integrated Mission in Timor. Then there's Sudan, then there's Liberia, Sudan, Saudi, Sahara, Georgia, Kosovo, all these different other countries that they're in. United Nations organizations, this is in Congo. There's the United Nations True Supervision Organization. There's the United Nations Military Observer Group in India and Pakistan. You know how India and Pakistan, they're trying to fight over Kashmir. Then, of course, the United Nations have their little group over there. United Nations, where is this? Assistance Mission in Afghanistan. Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Kosovo, I mentioned already. United Nations Regional Information Center. Guatemala, United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs, United Nations Office for Project Services, United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, United Nations Office on Sport for Development and Peace, United Nations Office on Sport for Development and Peace, United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, United Nations Office of the High Representative for the least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island developing states, the UNOHRLLS. United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UNDESA. Then there's the United Nations Development Fund for Women, UNIFEM. Then there's the United Nations Capital Development Fund, the UNCDF. Then there's the UNFIP, which is the United Nations Fund for International Partnership. There's the UNFPA, United Nations Fund for Population Activities. There's United Nations Fund for the Children, United Nations Fund for Drug Abuse Control, United Nations Fund for Science and Technology Development, United Nations Fund for Sustainable Development, United Nations Women, UNW, United Nations Women, and you'll find them in many countries as well. United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund, United Nations. I think that should be enough for the amount of different UN related organizations, funds that there are in this world. It's a lot. There's a lot. And when you actually look deep into it yourself, you'll start to see that these people actually have so much influence over the world. So much. The United Nations, when it was formed in its early days, they came together and said, you know what, we need to have our own standard organization. And then they came up with an organization called the ISO. I'm sure certain of you may have heard of it, ISOs. Now, what you may not understand is that there are over 27,000 ISOs. This is the International Standard Organization, or Organization for Standardization, whatever they call it. So they publish international standards of different things that you can even imagine. So many random different things of how it should be done, safety, the efficiency, and how to just do certain things. And there are over 27,000 of these standards. And they cover so many different topics of the worldly life. Quality management, environmental management, information security management, occupational health and safety management, food safety, paint, risk management, plastics, asset management, energy management, business continuity management, social responsibility, medical devices, automotive quality management, construction, anti-bribery, sustainable development goals, blockchain, which is cryptocurrencies, aerospace, laboratory testing, project management, IT service management, cloud computing, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, software engineering, statistical methods, ergonomics, sustainable procurement, counterfeiting, financial services, ship recycling, road traffic safety, packaging and packaging material, language services, cultural heritage management, nanotechnologies, tourism services, consumer product safety, compliance management systems, collaborative business relationship management, personal protective equipment, PPEs, privacy information management systems, digital banking, clean energy, urban planning, education organizations management, health informatics, space systems, road traffic signs and signals, textiles, water quality, rubber products, wielding, corrosion protection, petroleum and natural gas, forestry, fire safety, coating, smart cities, digital forensics, road vehicles, public transport, packaging and labeling, testing and calibration laboratories, solar energy, sports equipment, child safety, artificial intelligence with machine learning, Allahumma musta'an, biotechnology, marine energy, recycling, railway applications, cybersecurity resilience, environmental product declaration, anti-corruption management systems, biodiversity conservation, data protection, consumer information on food products, health information, anti-fraud management systems, electric vehicles, space debris, firefighting, anti-doping in sports. 27,000 standards, yeah, by this ISO, which is one organization that is connected to the United Nations. The plastic in your house, the random road signs in your road, the random public transports. It has over 160 countries that are members of this ISO. Over 160 countries. So the planes that are flying, the buses that are moving, the plastic that's around, all these different social media, the internet, the hospitals, the education. These guys they've been setting the standards for this since the 1940 somethings. Imagine that. Since the 1940 somethings. Space debris, random things, biodiversity. You think of something, they've got their hands on there. Think of something to do with the worldly life, they've got their hands on it. And this is one organization. There's the IEC, there's the ISO, and there's another one, and they've all joined together to make the World Standardization Corporation, or whatever it is, WSC or WSO. And then if you look at it, you will just find so much to do with the most random things. How do you make this? How do you make that? How do you make this? How do you make that? How do you make this? How do you make that? How do you make this? How do you make that? And that just shows you how far-reaching these people are. They're very, very far-reaching. Very, very influential. And that's the world these people live in. They live in this world where they're very far-reaching. They're like octopuses, and they have many tentacles that reach many different aspects. And then you look at commoners, you and I, and then we look at where our minds are at. We just live. We just go by. We're just like, okay. We're like, don't worry. I'm going to take the planes. I'm going to do this. I'm going to not even think and contemplate for a second. It's all right. So my question is, when these people do come to enslave the masses, and then they go to the masses and say, get ready, I'm coming for you. And the people are going to say, no, but we're free. You can't enslave us. And then they turn around and say, the plastic, we were the ones that set the standards. The planes, we were the ones who set the standards. The food that was being delivered to your grocery stores, we set the standards. The roads and the traffic laws and all of this, we were the ones who set the standard. When you were wearing these types of clothes, we were the ones who set the standard. When you had the painting in your house, we're the ones who set the standard. When the bricks were being made to build your homes, we were the ones who set the standard. Construction, we're the ones who set the standard. Security and police officers, we're the ones who set the standards. Health and safety and whatever it is, we're the ones who set the standards. We were all around you. Basically, you were already slave. You were already enslaved by them. You were already enslaved by them. You know, the World Economic Forum in, I think, 2016 or around there, 2019, I don't know which year it was, they came up with a video and then it said, you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And people are angry. They're so angry. Who does the World Economic Forum think they are? That they can come to me and tell me I'm going to own nothing, I'm going to be happy. But then ask yourself the question. The money that the people use, that we use around the world, do we own it? Do we own it? No, you don't. It's owned by the central bank. It's not owned by you. It's not owned by me. It's owned by the central bank. So the money that we're basically purchasing for everything that we have around us was purchased by something that's not even owned by us. So do we actually have ownership of the things that we buy then? The passports that we need to have to travel around the world or to go to different countries because of visa issues. Do you really own your passport? Or is the passport owned by the government? Do you own your own passport? Does your passport say your name in the front and say the passport, country, and then you just call it yourself? Whether it is, it's just all yours, designed by you, made by you, for you. Is it? Or is it owned? It's owned. It's owned. So, the land. Do you truly own the land? Or is the land owned by royals? Or is the land owned by governments? Do you truly own the land? Do you truly own the land? So you don't own the land, you don't own the money, you don't own the items you have, you don't own your passport that you travel around with. What do you own? What do I own? What do we own? People don't have ownership. Ownership has been taken away from the people for a very, very, very long time. So what do they own? Tell me. What do they own? Wallahu musta'an. So when they do come around and say, you know, you own nothing and you'll be happy, I mean, it's not like you own anything now. It's not like you own anything now. Wallahu musta'an. That's the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum, I remember I was on the Wayback Machine and I was going through the old documents, like the early 2000 documents. And they had an application to join the World Economic Forum, the Young Global Leaders application to join. And then when I clicked on the application, the link worked, there was a PDF from the early 2000s. I clicked on the PDF. And in the PDF, they clearly state that they are one of the most, if not the most powerful organization in the world. And I was like, that is so bold of them. How bold of you to assume that you are one of the most powerful organizations, groups, to join. I didn't know that. And then all you had to do was go to the World Economic Forum partners. And then you look at who their partners are. Amazon, Aramco, different banks, different companies, the DTCC, the Depository and Trust Clearing Corporation, manages assets over $72 trillion. Over $72 trillion. This is one company. It's over $72 trillion. This WTCC or WTC, the majority, over 80% of all the stocks and shares in the US is basically owned by that one company that is underneath the DTC. It's one company. 70-something trillion dollars for one company. The whole world's GDP is 80-something trillion. This one company is managing 70-something trillion. Just one. That one company. Just one. So this is the DTCC. They are partners with the World Economic Forum. Amazon partners with it. Dell, Cisco, this bank, that bank, this organization, that organization, this company, some Turkish construction company, some random companies around the world that are making billions a year. They're all partners. They're all partners with the World Economic Forum. And they pay money as well. You don't just become a partner for free. They pay money. So imagine all these companies are paying money just to be a part of your organization. How powerful must you be? How influential must you be? So when they do say that they are the most powerful organization in terms of influencing, they weren't lying. You will find that Klaus Schwab, he's talking to the former BT head, and the guy just tells him, yeah, basically like he can call anyone he wants, and they pick up. They pick up, that's it. Who do I need to call? Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos picks up. I call Elon Musk. He picks up. I call Mark Zuckerberg. He picks up. I call this ruler from here. He picks up. I call this president from this country. He picks up. Why? It's almost as if the world is very small. It's almost as if there's one big group and you and I are not a part of that group. It's like a very small world. They say that this is one of the most powerful organizations. So when you join the organization, you will become rich so easily. Do you know why you will become rich? Because the biggest companies in the world, the biggest banks in the world, they literally are in this group together. And if they will tell you information about whatever their company is doing, they will tell you about any information that their company is doing. It's called insider trading. For the commoners like you and I, insider trading is bad. It's illegal. It's harmful. It's whatever. But for them, with the little group that they're in, they already know what the companies are going to do, because these are the heads of the companies who own these companies that are literally in these meetings. Oh, don't worry, I'm going to speak to this guy, and then the head of Pepsi is going to be talking to the head of Coca-Cola, or the head of PepsiCo is going to be talking to the head of McDonald's. They're all sitting next to each other, telling each other, don't worry, I'm going to be getting investments in the next 3 years of 500 million from this government. They're literally telling you, giving you the information of where that company is going to be, where that company is going to progress. Blockchain. They were aware of blockchain, Bitcoin, for a very long time. So long. So if they had told you about Bitcoin in 2014, 13, 12, whilst you were in that little group, then you were way ahead of the other people. You think they didn't know about this? Cryptocurrencies and all these different things, they've been aware for a very long time. But the point I'm trying to get across is, look at how influential these people are. McDonald's, how influential is McDonald's? They're all over the world. All over the world. How many countries are they in? How many shops do they even have? And the head is going to be sitting with PepsiCo. PepsiCo own how many companies? A lot of the companies that you see in the grocery stores, you will actually find out that it's actually owned by PepsiCo. It's a very, 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 very powerful company. And they're all just sitting together in one room, just laughing with each other, talking. And that's what they show to the public. And then they have their private meetings that you and I are not allowed to see, because that's where the real conversations happen. Probably call you and I peasants and laugh and say, look how dumb these people are. Look at these slaves. They work for us. They get their hands dirty for us. You know, they put our stuff on the shelves, and other people are farming for us. They make sure that they're farming. And then it's very funny when you look at it. It's actually very funny. So understand what's going on. Understand the systems that are in place. Understand. And then people won't be so emotional. You see how they're so emotional about the Palestine issue. They're so emotional about the Palestine issue, and they think protesting is going to do anything. I can assure you that there is some sort of standardization protocol for those wooden planks that these people are holding that was founded by the ISO. Or the buses that they took to these protest places, or to these, it's just, or the social media companies where they're able to see all of this occurring. They own it, whether you like it or not. They own it. But the people don't know that. They just, I'm getting emotional, I'm going to go protest. But if the people truly knew the systems, and they truly knew what's going on in the world, and how we are enslaved, then they wouldn't be so emotional. Then they would actually start to understand. Then they wouldn't act so irrational. Wallahu musta'an. So open your eyes, open your mind. There's one big club, as they say, and you're not a part of it. One big club. Do you know about nanotechnology? Do you know about nanotechnology? Do you know about biotechnology? Do you know about Internet of Things, or the IOBT? Do you know what they're doing with technology nowadays? Do you know how they're trying to chips into people's minds and brains. Do you know that? Do you know how they're trying to put chips into people's hands? Do you know about how they're trying to put chips in animals so that all the animals are going to be tracked? So if you have an animal, best believe, they're going to be coming for you. So to chip and track the animals, and then to chip and track the humans, because they do see humans as animals. They see us, you and I, as cattle. And you know, cattle, you need to have boundaries, which is called borders in today's world. But guess what? For these people, there is no border. They have special, unique rights, special, unique laws, whereby they can go to different countries. They don't need visa. They don't need this. They don't need that. There's no such thing as border, because every single one of them is a member of the United Nations. The United Nations is one. Whether they like it or not, it's one. So they give special laws and special permissions, special rights, as they say, to certain individual to go and travel and do whatever they want, not whatever they want, but do whatever they have to do in other countries easily. Special treatment, special access. You know how they talked about like Saudi wine for certain diplomats? Really? So what are you telling me? Wine is haram for the whole people in Saudi Arabia, but when the disbelieving diplomats come, all of a sudden it's okay for diplomats. So explain to me this one thing. Why are these diplomats different than the people? It's because the diplomats have special rights that the people don't have. Because the reality is the people are seen as cattle. They have borders around them, just like a cattle has boundaries and is kept in its little area. And then they're going to be tagged so that you know specifically what kind of cattle this is. It's going to be chipped. So whenever you move around, they already know. And we can't complain. If they come to you and they put a chip inside you and say this chip is going to be able to track you, you can't complain, because they've already been tracking us with our phones. Every time you leave your house with a phone, they are able to track exactly where your location is, whether you like it or not. Every time you leave the house, they're tracking you, your movements. Every time you talk, they are listening to your words. They are listening to your words when you speak in private and your phone is around you. They can hear you in your own private home, and they can see you from the front camera. You think you're so private, you're this and that. How are you private when you're looking at your phone and that front camera is staring into your eyes and is staring into your emotions, and you're looking at these meme pages, you're laughing, and then they can see you laugh. You're turning your face around, they can see the full dimensions of your face and your emotions, and you're arguing with your mother and your father in private, and they know deep down inside of you. And how do they know deep down inside of you? Because what's inside of you can be seen by your actions, by your tongue, by your speech. When you're loudmouth and you're rude and you're crying because someone said you're ugly, it's very easy to be able to see that you are mentally weak in certain aspects. So how do they know all of this? Because they're tracking. I mentioned to you, the discovery or the making public these technological devices was made by the military. The US military were the ones that came up with the internet. Do you think the military came up with the internet to look out for us and care for us? No, they haven't. They haven't. So every time we leave the house, we're being tracked. Every word we say with these devices around, they hear and they listen. And every time you have your front camera opened, they look at you and they see your facial reactions. You don't have your hijab on. Do you think they care? They don't care. They will look at you with no hijab on. You just, I'm just laughing with my mother. No one cares if you're laughing with your mother. No one cares. No one cares. So they see you. When that George Orwell was talking about Big Brother in the 1940s, he wrote the book 1984 in the 1940s. George Orwell wrote this in the 1940s. How did George Orwell in the 1940s know? Bear in mind, the internet was not popular in the 1940s. Bear in mind, the phone was not popular in the 1940s. Bear in mind, the TVs weren't so popular in the 1940s. How did he know in the 1940s that there was going to be the Big Brother and it can see your whereabouts? And there's all these technological things that are watching you. They're watching you with the eye. Look at your front screen and look at the camera, there's only one little peeking hole. There's only one eye. There's only one peeking hole that is looking into your face, whether you like it or not. There's not two front cameras. There's only one front camera, and they look deep inside into your eyes. So, if the people don't understand this, then what can we say? If they don't understand about the chips, and then the chips in your brain, and it's able to see if you're lying, because deep inside when you lie, there's a certain imbalance within inside your body, and they can see that little imbalance, and they know you're lying. They know you're lying. Or they can see you're an employee and you have this chip inside your head and you're not paying attention to your work. They can see that you're not paying attention to the work. You're dozing off, you're a bit tired, you're slacking. You're not even focused on the work like a good slave. And then your manager is going to have a little computer, and the computer is going to tell him that this person is not paying attention. Then he's going to walk to you and tell you, listen, pay attention. Pay attention. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen? The people are going to keep losing their humanity. They won't know a thing about a thing. They will be very good slaves. Very, very good slaves. They would love their enslavement. And this is one of the signs of the end of times. Because the end of times is going to fall upon the worst of people. They're going to be out in public and fornicating like donkeys in public. The worst of mankind is who the end of times is going to fall upon. And you can already see how bad and evil mankind is already in the state they are in. They clearly don't even know what's going on. So imagine all of these things. Chips in the brain, chips in the hand, tracking you, tracking the cattle. Wallah musta'an. And these Salafis, as they call themselves, Salafis is what they call themselves. And some of them are proud, they say, we're proud. But what he doesn't understand is that one minute, inshallah, 1 minute. So there's those that call themselves Salafis and they say that we're proud, We say we are طلاب العلم, we are seekers of knowledge. Shaykhi huwa alim, alim al-fadil. He's my shaykh is this, he's that, my shaykh is this. My shaykh has so much knowledge. And they get that hype, get books, Sifatul Safwa, Dar Mecca. They get the books and everything, and I'm talib al-ilm. They will say, I'm a seeker of the ilm. And I say, alhamdulillah, you're a seeker of the ilm. But then they know practically nothing about the world that they're living in. He just takes a plane to go to another country, doesn't know a thing about the plane. He gets on a bus to go to the dorms he doesn't know anything about. He uses money to buy things he doesn't know anything about. He goes to a bed he knows absolutely nothing about. He goes to a room he knows absolutely nothing about. He's just walking in a place he knows absolutely nothing about. But one thing he definitely knows for sure is he's a talib al-ilm. He's a seeker of knowledge. Seeker of knowledge. He's going to aid this religion, isn't he? He's going to aid this religion. He's going to aid this religion whilst taking steps on a place he doesn't even know anything about. So, to this individual, I'll ask you a simple question. Saudi Arabia, and the reason why Saudi Arabia is mentioned is not because, they like to say, why do Ikhwanis only like to talk about Saudi Arabia? Firstly, why are you making a differentiation between Ikhwanis and Saudi Arabia? Ikhwanism has been in Saudi Arabia since the early offset of Ikhwanism. Let's not get that started. It's been there since the early days of Ikhwanism. It's not something that came recently. Secondly, the reason why people will talk about Saudi Arabia is because the Haram is there. Haramain in Mecca and Medina. Okay? Haramain. And that's what Saudi boasts itself upon. What do they say? Khadim al-Haramain al-Sharifain. That's the title that's given to the ruler. Yes? So they get annoyed and they say, why do you only talk about Saudi? Why don't you talk about Turkey? You're an Ikhwani because you only talk about Turkey. Turkey was known to legalize homosexuality before even America came about. Let's not even talk about Turkey. Talking about Turkey. Is the Haram in Turkey? Is Mecca and Medina in Turkey? Is that the center where the Muslims go every single year? Do they go to Turkey? Do they go to Turkey? What do you mean talk about Turkey? Qatar. Okay, what's in Qatar apart from deserts and maybe oil and maybe some false society that they've built there? What's in Qatar? Tell me. UAE. What is in UAE? Why are we going to talk about UAE? What's in UAE? They get annoyed and they say, you only talk about Saudi, but then you only defend Saudi. So they find it weird when people only talk about Saudi, but then they themselves only defend Saudi, which is crazy. It's crazy. But for these people, the simple thing that I want to tell you is Saudi is on board with the Ikhwani agenda. Saudi is on board with the United Nations agenda. Vision 2030 is in accordance to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2030. Whether you like it or not. And guess what? Muhammad al-Isa is backed by Saudi Arabia. The state of Saudi Arabia backs the Muslim World League and Muhammad al-Isa. And Muhammad al-Isa calls to unity with all the people of falsehood, loving the Jews and the disbelievers, and having special teachers, and making sure no one who is against this call, gets financed, because that's what they call financing terrorism. They have government organizations to stop terrorism funding. That's why they were preparing Al-Qaeda and all these different Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram and ISIS. Ask yourself the question, how were they being funded? How was Al-Qaeda being funded? How was it being funded electronically when the disbelievers owned the electronic systems that the money goes through? And if they wanted to, they could have stopped. How? You think they were dumb? You think they don't control this system, the electronic payment system that was being wired to Al-Qaeda? You think they didn't know? Why? How? Who? So they act like Saudis, fighting against Ikhwanism. This is the land of Tawheed. Saudi Arabia is a child in the United Nations. It votes alongside other nations in the United Nations as if it's a democracy, whether you like it or not. And guess what? The vote of Saudi Arabia is not equal to the vote of America, because America has something called a veto, which if someone comes up with something, America can veto it, and then that is it. End of. No one cares. No one can say anything else. Saudi Arabia, they have no veto. They have no veto. It's just that child, that young little child. You got a young child, he doesn't really have a voice. He really can't say much. But he's still involved and he still accepts international law. International law, really? What's international law? Is it the Sharia? Is it the Sharia? No, it's not. And then there's reforms of the law. They need to reform the law, really. What are you reforming? Because I've always known you to be upon the Sharia. So is it the Sharia that's been reformed? I didn't know the Sharia could be updated. I didn't know it was a software system that needs to update. I didn't know that. He didn't come from Sharia. He came from the United Nations. He came from the United Nations. So they say this is the land of Tawheed. They're fighting against Ikhwanis. How are they fighting against Ikhwanis? Name me a bigger Ikhwani than Muhammad al-Isa. I'll wait. Name me a bigger Ikhwani on the face of this earth than Muhammad al-Isa. I'll wait. There's another one who's a royal advisor as well, who's an Ikhwani as well. I mean, Salih al-Fawzan called him an Ikhwani. And he's a royal advisor. So a royal advisor is an Ikhwani. Muhammad al-Isa is an Ikhwani. Muhammad al-Isa is supported by the state. That government is supporting Muhammad al-Isa and is supporting Muslim World League and is supporting the royal advisor. So how are you guys fighting against Ikhwanism when you're supporting Ikhwanism? Because I'm not that stupid, I'm not that dumb. You can't be telling me that you support and that you fight at the same time. Or is it you were told one thing and then the reality was something else? Because you were blinded to actually see what's actually going on all around you. You could just see one thing, correct? And what's that one thing that they told you? Sheikh Fulan told me this is land of Tawheed and we're fighting against Ikhwanis. Really? Go and ask Sheikh Fulan about Muhammad al-Isa. Is he an Ikhwani? If he's an Ikhwani, why is he supported by the state? Why is he not in prison? And then the whole situation changes. The situation changes now. All of a sudden, you know, you catch them out. You catch them out and they're defending. Oh, you got to defend the rulers. You catch them out and they're defending the rulers. The situation changed. They either block you, or they got nothing to say, or they leave you unread and they won't reply. So they say that this is, you know, the land of Tawheed. The reality is this is the land of United Nations. If this is the land of Tawheed, can I ask you a question? Where in the Tawheed does it say to have human rights organizations? Human rights organizations. Can you tell me where in Tawheed, from the Quran? Show me in the Quran, show me in the Sunnah where it says to have human rights organizations that are what? In accordance to the Human Rights Declaration, which are laws set by the UN. Show me where. Show me where. They can't show you, because then you're going to lie against the religion. Then you're going to have to be defending the United Nations form of Islam, of tolerance and peace with everything and everyone, and loving everything and everyone, humanist religion. So Saudi, they are Ikhwanis, no doubt. No one can doubt that. No one can doubt that. They've actually had one of the biggest influences. Biggest Ikhwani influence has been from Saudi. That's the reality. It's been from Saudi. If you look at Osama bin Laden, who was from Saudi, and a lot of those people that joined Al-Qaeda were from Saudi. A lot of the stuff from Saudi. Saudi and Ikhwanism have been in bed for a very long time. The reason why I mention this is because now these people are in charge of the Haram, Mecca and Medina, correct? They overlook the affairs of Mecca and Medina. When you reject, maybe, I don't know if you're ever going to reject, I don't even know if you're ever going to see or you're even going to understand, maybe they will, they just find a way to just divert you away from the truth without you even understanding. When you reject the UN form of Islam, of tolerance, no al-wala wal-bara, no jihad whatsoever. There's no such thing as jihad whatsoever. You reject all of that and you accept the disbelief of the United Nations, then they will allow you to go and then do Hajj. But then when you reject all of that, how are you ever going to do Hajj and Umrah? Because they're planning to make it all technological. They're planning Hajj and Umrah to be done all via technology. Your visas to be done via technology. Your applications to be done via technology. When you come up on the technological system and it says that you are against the UN form of Islam and that you are a terrorist and an extremist, and best believe they've already defined terrorism, they've defined extremism, don't worry. When they come for you and they say you can't do Hajj and Umrah, what are you going to do? Are you going to be proud and say, I'm a Salafi, I'm proud? Are you going to be proud? Are you going to be proud when you can't enter that Bayt of Allah? Are you going to be proud? Are you going to be proud of yourself? Are you going to be proud when the education system in that land is going to be under the United Nations and they're going to be teaching whatever they want to that land and to those people in that nation? And they're going to be teaching your children about LGBT, gender, accepting all different genders, and supporting in peace and loving. Because if you want to travel, you have to be in accordance with the UN, because they've already got all these standardizations and they already control all these different companies and organizations and governments. And if you dare tell your child that being gay is bad, you are going to be a terrorist and extremist. So how is it going to be for you then? Your child is going to be humiliated. Oh, you wanna do homeschooling? No homeschooling for you. Why do you want to be homeschooling? Only evil people do homeschooling. Why are you homeschooling your child for? Best believe that child has to come to the school. It's going to be obligatory. Obligatory. And in many countries it's already obligatory for you to take the child to the school. But guess what? You have no say in the curriculum. So it's obligatory for them to take your child away and put it into school, but you've got no say in what the curriculum is for that child being taught. Isn't it amazing? It's almost as if that is not even your own child, because the reality is they don't even see it as their own child. It's a child of the state. It's not your child. Did you give it a birth certificate? Yes. Did you give it a passport? Yes. That's a child of the state. It's not your child. It's a child of the state. So then a lot of these people, they'll be surprised and shocked. Wow, where did this come from? Wow, extremism. That's why I was laughing, because Ruhaili was speaking about the Quraniyun, and then someone was like, oh, this is not inclusive, this is not tolerance, you have to be tolerant to everyone. And then all of these people started going out and saying, oh, you have to defend the Sunnah. You have to defend the Sunnah against the Quraniyun. And I was laughing to myself. And I'm just looking at these two sides here. And I'm just thinking, man, Ruhaili, if you think you're just fighting against these little Twitter people that you're fighting against here, best believe you don't even know who you're defending, because you tend to be defending your rulers a lot. As if your rulers don't accept the United Nations human rights. I mean, Saudi Human Rights Commission is backed by the government. So he clearly doesn't even know what's going to be coming. He's just there trying to, I'm going to argue against this guy on Twitter. He doesn't even know what's coming. Miskeen. And they say he's an alim. He's an alim, but doesn't even know the stuff that's actually going on. Wallah musta'an. And these United Nations and all these other organizations, they have companies, or they have organizations that study your religion. They study Islam. Taghutism, they study about Taghutism. Al-Jihad, they study on Al-Wala wal-Bara. They've got books from the Mutaqaddimeen. They've got manuscripts from the Mutaqaddimeen. They're learning about your religion. They know about Tawheed better than you probably even know about Tawheed. They know about the Asha'ira. They know about the Maturidiyya. They know about the Diyobandiyya. They know about the Tablighi. They know about these other people. And then they write reports. How can we influence these people? They believe in this, and this is the real evidence for why they believe in it. They will give you the proof from the Quran and the Sunnah. Yeah, they'll give you proof from the Quran and Sunnah. And then they say, okay, if we do this, this is how it's going to lead them to go to another direction. And then when they go to that other direction, we'll make sure they go to this other direction. And then when they go to this other direction, we're going to mislead them. Shayateen literally telling you how they are going to be misleading the Muslims. And they've already infiltrated the Muslim lands, whether you like it or not. Do you know why? Because a large majority of the Muslims are dumb and they are unaware. They don't think, they don't contemplate, so they don't see. All they need to do nowadays is call themselves a Muslim organization, All they need to do is say, oh, I've got a beard, I've got a thobe. Someone said I'm a Sheikh Fulan. And that's it. The people, they start drooling. Metaphorically, they start drooling. Oh, he's a Sheikh Fulan because someone else said he's a Sheikh Fulan. Really? Like, look at the likes of Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh, the Mufti of Saudi Arabia. Look at how they big the Mufti. You say, oh, this is Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh. Do you know who he is? Like, do you not know who he is? He's Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh. He's the Mufti of Saudi Arabia. He's like this alim. He's so old. He's got so much knowledge. Really? So much knowledge. So much knowledge. So much knowledge, and he supports the Muslim World League. So much knowledge, and he supports these initiatives. So much knowledge, and he sits in unification with the heads of misguidance. So much knowledge, isn't it? Knowledge is just oozing out of the likes of Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh. It's just oozing out of Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh. So much knowledge. That knowledge has led him to support these initiatives. It has led him to be a part of these initiatives. It has led him to be an authoritative figure in pushing these agendas. Oh man, so much knowledge is just oozing out of him. That elderly age, wisdom, Kitab al-Tawheed that he's teaching, the books of Sunnah that he's teaching, the knowledge is just oozing out of him, really. But that knowledge couldn't even save him. It couldn't save him from mixing the truth and falsehood. It couldn't save him from telling the rulers, I am not going to be sitting with the people of deviance. I'm not going to. It didn't stop him. It didn't stop him from supporting the Muslim World League that clearly tell you they love the Jews and that the Jews are their brothers. They say it so clearly. It didn't stop him. Why did the knowledge not stop him? Such great knowledge, but it could not stop him from supporting this organization. It's crazy, isn't it? So much knowledge, but he was deceived by Pfizer and Moderna. We're not even talking about Dajjal. We're talking about Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, World Health Organization, Pfizer and Moderna. He couldn't survive against Pfizer and Moderna. How is he going to survive against Dajjal? Explain to me in clear, simple English how he is going to survive against Dajjal when he could not even survive against Pfizer and Moderna and World Health Organization and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Johns Hopkins University as well on top of that. What? Couldn't even survive that. So people, they just big these people up. He's a Sheikh Fulan. He's a Sheikh Fulan. The way these people big these people up, you would think the Muslim Ummah is getting better year after year. It's getting worse year after year. It's getting worse year after year. And then when you tell them these things, they say, oh, we don't have the power. We don't have the power. Then stop talking if you have no power. Stop talking. Why are you talking? Allah musta'an. Big him up. Sheikh Ruhaili. This is, what's his name? What's that guy? Muhammad Bazmoul. This is Sheikh Muhammad Bazmoul. He's the Mufti of Makkah. Muhammad Bazmoul is the Mufti of Makkah. He teaches this kitab, this kitab, this kitab. He's the Mufti of Makkah. But being the Mufti of Makkah did not stop him in congregating with women, did it? It didn't stop him. He's just there with an interviewer, just laughing, just smiling, and then there's just women walking around him. That knowledge didn't stop him, did it? Did that knowledge stop him from going there? And people are going to say, oh, no, the government told him. If it's haram, who said the government can make halal what is haram? Who said the government can make halal what is haram? Are you now making haram what is halal? Is that not istihlal? Is that not istihlal? So where is the knowledge? You know why? It's because the people actually, they're so dumb to a certain level. Like the dumbness is so like great to a certain level, whereby a person just needs the basics. Just the basics of talking Arabic, a little bit of hadith, a little bit of the Quran, and then bam, that is it. People are going to think he's an alim, he's a this, he's a faqih, he's a mufti. Really? Being a mufti couldn't stop him from hanging around with women. It couldn't stop him. And he's just there laughing as well. Likewise with Ruhaili, there's just a woman walking past him. He's just there smiling whilst being interviewed on TV. He's just there smiling. What happens to the knowledge? What happens to the knowledge? Are you that blind to see what's going on? Are you actually that blind to see what's going on? It's because they see the people to be extremely dumb. And because they're extremely dumb, just the people are going to be happy with the bare minimum. And I say they're going to lose themselves. And then they cry about the Muslim Ummah, and look what's happening in the Muslim Ummah. You don't even know what's going on in the Muslim Ummah in reality. And you don't even know how great of an enemy we have, and how many enemies we have, and how big and expansive they are, and how big their tentacles are. You don't know that. Allah understand. So may Allah have mercy upon us and forgive us and guide us. May Allah have mercy upon us. Ruhaili already believes and says the UN is good. It benefits the Muslims. I'm not surprised he would say that, because I don't see him to have the level of intelligence to even understand what the United Nations is. And I'll be very frank, I don't care how old he is. Old age does not mean that you are intelligent. So many people are elderly in age and they're actually dumb and stupid. An example is Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh. He clearly does not know a thing of what's actually going on. So elderly age doesn't really save a person. It doesn't help a person. It doesn't really help a person. So I'm not surprised that Ruhail would say this. No surprise. Of course he will see it as a benefit. When you don't understand something and the people will make it out to seem a certain thing, then they'll just like, oh, it's a benefit, it's good. Oh, look at UNWRA, look at how they're helping the Palestinians. Look at how this is the company. This is like the only UN organization. How is it that this is the only like charity organization that can actually set up schools and be based in Palestine? So that they show the world, look at how we're helping the Palestinians. You're helping the Palestinians. That is, wow. Wow. Does that come with any strings attached? Does that come with any strings? Oh yeah, it does. In the educations of these young little children in these Palestinian camps, we're going to be teaching them our own education. Oh, that makes sense. And they're not teaching the Sharia, are they? No. They're not teaching Al-Jihad, are they? No. What are they teaching? The United Nations are. So of course Ruhaili is going to say, oh look, they're helping the Palestinians. You know, they're building schools in Muslim countries, yes. They're doing good, look. But what are they teaching in those schools? What are they doing? Are they doing all of this good for no reason? You think these organizations are so dumb that they're going to come and help you with no ulterior motive? You know, I'll be very honest. I truly fear for these people. Because these people, you just have to present yourself a certain way and they will be deceived. One guy came to me and he was like, oh, Akhi, we judge by what's apparent. We just judge by what's apparent. I said to the guy, you just judge by what's apparent? He said, yeah, there's just Iman and Kufr and we just judge by what's apparent. I said, okay, yes, there's Iman and there's Kufr. But what's going to happen if someone is going to set up a fake company or fake organization, call it Islamic, have some people who grow some beards, and then the agendas and their principles, their foundations, they'll tell you goes against it. Are you then going to just say there's only Iman and Kufr? What happened? And then you're going to be deceived because they proclaim to be Muslim Brotherhood, Muslim organization. Even though they're headed by evil and corruption, just because they're Muslim and they have beards, all of a sudden, yeah, look, there's a battle going on, there's a war. Go fight for Hamas because this is a battle between Iman and Kufr. All of those people that said what's going on in Palestine is a fight between Iman and Kufr, they know absolutely nothing about what's going on in the world. And I fear for them because when the Dajjal arrives and when the Dajjal shows them paradise and hell, the Prophet ﷺ said that his Jannah is what? Is the Nar. And the Nar is what? The Jannah. How are these people ever going to understand when they are so blind and they say, oh look, Hamas, they're Muslim, that means they're fighting for Islam. Who said they're fighting for Islam? They clearly told you from their own self, we're not fighting for Islam, we're fighting for democracy. They tell you from their own selves that they're fighting for democracy. Is democracy Islam? No, it's not. It's from the disbelievers. So they're fighting for disbelief. They're not fighting for Islam. They're not fighting to make La ilaha illallah the highest. They're fighting to have women involved in political systems. That's what they're fighting for. To have women in political systems. Why women in political systems? You guys are literally apparently being bombed by Israel. You're always facing all this hardship. What does women involved in political systems have anything to do with what you're fighting for? Is that because the United Nations Women Program has been telling you guys that you need to get women involved? Is it because gender pay, gender gap, whatever it is? Is it because you need to involve the women into the society? Why are you mentioning women? You're getting bombed by bombs and F-16s and F-15 fighter jets. You're getting bombed by bombs, but your concern is women in political systems. Because they see the masses to be so dumb and stupid. That's the reality. They actually do. And the Shaykh is going to say that this is a battle between Iman and Kufr. If it's a battle of Iman and Kufr, go and fight with Iman then. Go to Hamas and fight for Hamas. I would never go and fight for Hamas. If I was to go and fight, I would fight on my own accord with myself. Not for that, not with them. Never would I fight with them. Never in my entire existence of breathing would I fight for them. Because if they win the war, they are going to go and carry out their what? Their foundations and their principles of what? Democracy. So what? I need to fight them again. You literally fought against the democracy to then establish a democracy. Now I have to fight your democracy. Is that what I'm doing? If it's Iman and Kufr, why don't these people go and fight for Iman? Why are they not fighting for Iman? They have so much knowledge. They know about kitab of jihad. They know about the chapters of jihad. They know about the fiqh of jihad. They know about the reward of the mujahid. Why don't they go and fight for Iman? Is it because the planes aren't going to take them there? Is it because there's borders that they can't allow them? Or what, their hands are tight, right? Then why are they talking? Tell them to keep quiet. Talk when your hands are not what? Tied up. Imagine someone's hands are tied up. He can't move, but he's going to keep talking. What's talking going to do for you? Tell me. Iman and Kufr. They say this is a battle of Iman and Kufr. Okay, when Dajjal shows you the paradise, the nar, the fire, and the garden, Jannah, when he shows you this, just say it's Iman and Kufr. The nar is... Just say the nar is kufr and say the Jannah is what? Iman. So just go into the Jannah then. Go into the Jannah. Enter the Jannah of Dajjal, yeah? Because you're so deceived. You don't have the capability to understand that things may seem a certain way, but it's actually not. The Prophet said, go to the fire. The Prophet said, go to the fire. Don't go to the garden. But these people, because it's just Iman and Kufr, they just have to show them a beard. I'm a Muslim, you just say I'm a Muslim, that is it. That's khalas. And then they say, oh, we just judge by apparent. Really? If you judge by apparent, when Dajjal shows you the fire and paradise, why don't you go and judge by that apparent and go to the paradise? When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told you to go to the fire, because you lack knowledge, you don't understand. That's the reality. You lack knowledge and you don't understand. That's the reality. So... Allah have mercy upon us. That's why, the more I see, the more I learn about what's going on, the far less of a station any of these people have in my eyes. Almost zilch of a station any of these people have in my eyes. That's the reality. Because now it makes sense why we are in a state that we are in the Muslim Ummah. I see now why we're humiliated. Because humiliation, as I mentioned before, only comes with two. The rulers when they're corrupt, and when the scholars and they're corrupt. Once the rulers and the scholars are corrupt, who then is going to look after the shepherd? Or the flock of the shepherd? Tell me. And then they say, you have to establish Islam in your own homes. They literally will tell you all the excuses in the world except for what the real actual issue is. You establishing Islam in your own home is not Islam being established in the land and the laws of Islam being established in the land. Completely different things. Completely different things. Allah understand. So it's ajib, very, very ajib. Very ajib. Battle of Iman and Kufr. Iman. When people hear that this is a battle of Iman and Kufr, how are they going to feel? I need to go and fight. I need to go and fight. But you know why I laugh sometimes, yeah? When it was Afghanistan and when the Russians were invading Afghanistan, the disbelievers allowed the Muslims to go to Afghanistan. But when it's Israel and Palestine, the disbelievers don't allow the Muslims to go to Palestine. It's almost as if you can't ask yourself the question, why? And how? How can we do this? How do they allow the people to go to Afghanistan, but they're not allowing the people to go to what? Gaza. And it's bordered by what? A Muslim country, Egypt, right? Egypt is a Muslim country, as you claim, right? It's bordered by Egypt, right? So you can go through Egypt, correct? But no, there's security guards, there's military officers that are going to what? Stop you. What? Iman and kufr, but you can't even go fight. That's what? But when it's Afghanistan and they want to push their agenda, go, look at how we're supporting the Mujahideen. The guy is coming with little sunglasses. He just gets off the helicopter in sunglasses like he's in a movie, you know. It's almost as if all of it is a joke. It's all a joke. One big joke. You guys are going to go and get back your mosques. You're going to go and get back your lands. I don't understand. So, not much to talk about, huh? But these people that keep defending Saudi, just know that they're disgraced. They are actually very disgraced. You know why they're so disgraced? Because they defend Saudi even in a time when there's going to be parties and discos and music and festivals going on when the Muslims are being killed. I don't know ever in the history of the Muslim Ummah where they were celebrating and partying when the Muslims were being killed. I don't ever remember. So you're telling me they are aware that Muslim babies and children are going to be bombed and are being bombed and their limbs are being slaughtered and cut into so many different pieces and their blood is being spilled all over the roads, and then they're going to go and have initiatives to have festivals because these people can't have festivals without licensing. And who gives the licensing? The government is the one who gives the licensing. So you can't tell me, you can't tell me that you really care about the Muslim Ummah when there's you're defending groups of people that are having festivals. Do you not know the level of dishonor and disrespect that is? It's like my mother got killed next door, and in my own house today I'm going to throw a big party, and I know my mother was killed next door and I'm going to have a party today. Can you say that you love your mother? No, you can't say that. Can you say you love your Muslim brothers? No, you can't say that. You can't. So keep quiet. Just keep quiet. But they keep talking. The ruler, may Allah bless the ruler. May Allah preserve the ruler. What preserve what? What are you preserving? Is they good? What are you preserving? Tell me. You can't have these festivals without licensing, and the licensing is given by the government. So the government know that there's festivals going on. And then in another part of the world, the Muslims. What happened? What happened to the land of Tawheed? Man, I didn't know, man. I didn't know Tawheed was partying and festivals when the Muslims are being killed. I didn't know that. Maybe I need to go and open Kitab al-Tawheed by Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab again and try read again where he actually mentions in Kitab al-Tawheed. Or I need to go and look at Ad-Durra Saniyya and see where in that book, I need to see where in that book they talk about festivals and dancing and music when the Muslims are being slaughtered, and you know that the Muslims are being slaughtered. I need to go and look at Usul al-Thalatha, and maybe he's mentioned somewhere in Usul al-Thalatha, correct? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Think about Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. They're trying to remove him from even being mentioned in Saudi Arabia, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. Wahhabism. Oh, we need to leave Wahhabism because Wahhabism was all that terrorism you saw, all that ISIS, all that Al-Qaeda. We need to leave Wahhabism. But what you don't understand is Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab signifies what? At-Tawheed. It's not about ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They did all of this smear campaign against Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab so that you have a justified reason to leave Al-Islam. That's the reason why. Oh, look at all these takfiris and look at all these things and look at all these ikhwanis and kharijis and look at that. They all mention Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, Why? What's the agenda behind mentioning him all the time? Is it because when they define terrorism and extremism, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab is going to be the key man? And what did Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab call to? He called to at-Tawheed, whether you like it or not. So you accept the Tawheed that Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab called to, you're going to be an extremist and a terrorist. But you keep telling me how your land is the land of Tawheed and how it's flourishing, and you keep making dua, keep making dua. Wallah musta'an. So I'll leave you with that. May Allah have mercy upon us, forgive us and guide us. As I said, I don't support any of the rulers that rule by other one Allah has revealed. I don't support any of these Ikhwani groups, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Al-Nusra, Jabhat al-Nusra, you name it, Free Syrian Army, all these different factions, all these Shi'i military factions, all these Houthis, any of these. I don't support any of these people. Anyone that is public and well known like this and has groups or militaries or has got big influence, nope, nada, don't support him. That is it. Finished. Don't support him. That's it. And realizing is the first stage. Many people haven't realized, they haven't woken up. So that's the first stage. So after the first stage, there's other factors. But this is the first stage. Realize, understand, wake up, know, see, hear, understand. And that's the first stage. I think that's about it. I hope you actually listen to the first part of the live. I hope you listen to the first part of the live and you understand how influential it is and how deep it is. Like even if you look at the Sayyid Qutb side of Ikhwanism, why do you think so many people are deceived by Sayyid Qutb's side of Ikhwanism? Why do you think that is the case? The reason why is because they speak some truth, and that's the thing. You can't have an opposing side unless the opposing side mentions opposing matters. I'll save it, inshallah. The opposing side can't be an opposing side unless it mentions opposing facts or points. In the case of the Sayyid Qutb side of Ikhwanism, what does it mention? They mention Sharia, jihad. Look at Hamas's emblem. You'll see the sword. You'll find jihad. You'll see the Mus'haf, the Quran. We are people of religion, really. Where in the religion does it say involve women in political systems? Where in the religion does it say democracy? Tell me where in the religion does it say that? So forget that. They appease to a certain group of people. They are the ones who care about the religion. But they care about the religion, but they're dumb. In the sense that they don't actually understand what's going on around them and how they're being easily fooled and manipulated, is what I'm saying. Easily fooled and manipulated. So they appease to those groups of people. Oh, look, jihad. This is the only way to defeat the kuffar. It's only jihad. Look, they made an enemy for you. They made a hero for you, They literally made a hero for you. So when they murder your brothers and sisters, you find comfort knowing, one day I'm going to join Hamas. I'm going to have La ilaha illallah around my forehead. I'm going to have the nasheeds, gun noises. Can I even ask you a question, bro? Who made that gun? Who's sewing these clothes? Who came up with this camouflaged clothing military item? Huh? These missiles, where did these missiles come from? Who taught you how to make these missiles, my brother? Who taught you? Oh yeah, but don't worry, bro. You're going to go to Hamas one day. You're going to fight against the kuffar with kuffar weapons and kuffar military tactics and kuffar clothing. You go and don't worry, bro. You go to Hamas one day and see. It's because these people are emotional. They're emotional. Oh, I just saw the brains of a Muslim baby. Oh, I'm going to go and get them. What are you going to go and get them with? They'll come with the F-16 fighter jet and bomb your house right now in the comfort of their own homes. They'll come with a drone, a UAV drone right now and bomb you up whilst they're in their own homes. What are you going to do? Did you really just wake up today to see the amount of influence these people have? Oh, he's complaining on Twitter. Oh, these Israelis are this. Who controls the internet, you fool? Oh, he's on Instagram stories. Oh, this is what the Jews are doing. This is what Mark Zuckerberg is doing. Oh, really? Really? You're complaining on a platform against the person who owns the platform. Does that make sense? If you came to my house and you tried to complain about me to me in my house, I'd kick you out. If you came to my house and you said, oh, you're worthless, you're nothing, I'll tell you the door's over there, get out. But he's not going to kick you off the platform because he need you. We need you to be talking like this. We need you to be, we need to feed on your sadness. We need to feed on your tears. Cry even more so we can bomb you even more. And then we're going to be even more happy, you fool. Cry even more, be even sad. The Muslim Ummah, I'm going to go do something. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tell me what you're going to do. You can't even enter that country without their permission. Without the permission of Egypt or without the permission of Israel. How are you going to enter? Tell me. Tell me. So they appease to these groups of people because they say jihad. And then they talk about taghut. This ruler is a taghut. That ruler is a taghut. This ruler is a taghut. But you're forgetting the head of the taghut, who is Iblis and his soldiers and the Yahud and the Nasara and these organizations, these esoteric organizations, these Freemasonic organizations. You're forgetting about them. They have more influence than the Saudi ruler. They have more influence than the Qatar ruler. They have more influence than the Muslim Ummah, as you claim. But they're so focused on what? Taghut, ruler, taghut, ruler, taghut, ruler. Really? Really? Look at that country. Most of the system is being imported from another place. What place is that? It's a disbelieving place. Are you telling me Saudi Arabia, they have the central bank, yeah? They have this S something something. They have this central bank. Are you telling me Saudi Arabia imported this central bank and the central bank system in their country? Where did they import that from? How about you look where that is? These planes, Saudi Airline, really? Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know the Bedouins in Saudi Arabia, they went and they made a Boeing jet. I didn't know that. Where did this Boeing airplane come from? Did it come from Saudis in the deserts? Barefooted Bedouins? I didn't know that. But that's why people are so easily fooled by the Sayyid Qutb sides of Ikhwanism, because it appeases to their emotions. They tell them, look, he's a taghut. You know, al-kufru bil-taghut, al-imanu billah. They say this and that. Yeah, that is true. And then they say, then there's basically just go and kill yourself. Let's cut the chase for the Ikhwani, the Sayyid Qutb sides of Ikhwanism. Let's just cut to the chase. Go and get yourself killed. Finished. Go and get yourself killed. Go blow yourself up somewhere. Go get yourself killed. You're worthless. You're irrelevant. Depopulation. We're going to lower the population. Amazingly. Fits in perfectly with the UN agenda. So go and act like you're some superhero because you heard some nasheed and gun noises in the background, and you're going to go and fight Israel and you're going to stop Israel. Go do something. You're not, bro. You're not. That's the reality. They know what they're doing. They know that you're weak. They know that you don't have influence, but they still want to play on your emotions. That's why, as I mentioned, I said I'm sad sometimes. I feel sad, or sorry, not sad. I feel sorry sometimes for these people, because they're emotional because they see the Muslims and the babies' brains, and they see the organs coming out, and then they're taking this body out from the rubble, and the head is not even connected to the body, and then it's because they don't know how to react, they don't know how to act. You're being shown all of this on a Jewish platform for a Jewish reason. You don't know the Jewish reason, and then you're going to cry. They want you to cry, and then whilst they're crying, they're going to look at you from the front camera. They're going to look at you cry from the front camera. You feel sorry, man. You do feel sorry, man. You do feel sorry. So, you actually do feel sorry, man. May Allah forgive us, for our weakness. May Allah forgive us for our weakness and our ignorance and our diversion away from the truth, because the humiliation we're going through is because of our diversion away from the truth. May Allah forgive us. May Allah forgive us and not grant the disbelievers any strength over us, and protect us from the fitnas of the Dajjal and those that are working to aid the Dajjal. Go and look at the ISOs, the International organization for standardization, and look at all these different things, planes and plastics and wood and trees and forest and nature and biodiversity and water and foods and this and chemicals and this. They're talking about all these different things. So you think the world is already not set perfectly for Dajjal. Perfect. Set perfect. They already control most of the governments in the entire world. They already control the financial system of the entire world. They already control the tourism system in the entire world. They already control the transportation system of the entire world. They already control the education systems around the world. Why would it not be set in place? It's just so perfectly set. Like if I was to come to a certain place, the room is clean, it's warmed up, it smells nice and fresh. The stage is set, ready to shine. So Allah protect us from the fitna of Dajjal. May Allah protect us from the fitna of Dajjal. My advice to you would be, learn the Quran, study the Quran, learn the Quran, ask Allah to get closer to Him by learning the Quran, by learning the correct religion. As for worldly related affairs, you are better off learning about worldly related affairs by yourself. You're not going to learn from anyone else in reality. You're not really going to learn much from anyone else. But as for your religion, learn your Quran, learn how to pray, learn about dua, learn about these different factors. That will benefit you. As for these big factors, then just know that it's occurring, because knowing is the first stage to action. When you don't know how you're going to act, you're going to act irrational and blow yourself up in a marketplace like many individuals have. It's strange, isn't it? It's strange how when ISIS was fighting in Syria, the people could fly from around the world and go and join ISIS. But when the Muslims are being slaughtered in Palestine, the Muslims around the world can't go and fly into and help them. What? What's greater of an evil? Israel or Syrians that were being killed because of revolting against their ruler and protesting against their ruler? What happened? You see how the people, they left the UK and they had all these social media, they were beautifying going to Syria through Turkey and all of this. What? So when the disbelievers want you to do jihad, you can do jihad. But when the disbelievers don't want you to do jihad, you can't do jihad. So are you truly doing jihad, or what are you doing? Tell me. Explain to me in English. I'll leave it with that, because there's too much things that can be mentioned and I'll just be talking all day. And I'll leave it at that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.